Q&A, Heisman odds, and SEC power rankings. It's college football smothered and covered.
You are Locked On College Football, smothered and covered, with your host, Barrett Sallee. Your one-stop shop for everything college football. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome in. Thank you for making this your first listen every single day. Of course, this is college football smothered and covered. We are powered by Locked On. Today's episode brought to you by FanDuel. Place your first $5 bet, and you'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. That's right. Your first $5 bet gets you $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. Go to FanDuel.com to get started. It's Q&A day. This show is for you. This is the entire new media landscape in the world of college football. We're here to serve you. We're here to serve you because, look, we don't need to hear national folks just screaming at each other on TV. We say this is your first listen. We talk about college football, podcasts all over the place. Locked On College Football. We are here to provide you the content that you need and the content that you don't get in the new media. I'm sorry, in the traditional media. So we got to have Q&A day. That's what today is. Also, it's Braves playoff day, hence the hat and the World Series champion shirt. But you probably already knew that I was going to be wearing those. Dave, 95CP on the X machine. What do you make of the Heisman race right now? To me, look, I have a Heisman vote. We can't give away too much because then they'll come after us, knocking on our door. But it's Travis Hunter, it's Jalen Milroe, and it's everybody else. Now, you can say Jalen or Travis Hunter, I don't care, but one or the other. But it's the most outstanding player in college football. That's what's verbatim on the Heisman Trust ballot. That's what it is. Right now, I'd give it to Travis Hunter. Most outstanding player in college football. He does it on offense. He does it on defense. There's nothing the guy can't do. And there's something to be said for the amount of plays that he has to deal with every single game. That's hard. Jalen Milroe doesn't have to do that, obviously. It's really hard to be a defensive back and a wide receiver. You are running so much. I saw a stat, this is probably 4 or 5 years ago, that a wide receiver generally on a traditional football team in terms of how they operate offensively runs about 3 miles. Add on what defensive backs do and the fact that they run backwards. I mean, it's unbelievable to me that in this day and age of all of the athletes that exist across not just FBS, but all of college football, even down to high school, because he had to do it in high school too, that this guy can withstand consistently that kind of responsibility and do it at an elite level. So I'd go with Travis Hunter. He's at plus 500. I'm surprised Milroe's at plus 250. I'm surprised the gap is that big. Now, with Jalen Milroe, we talked about this yesterday, wrapping up the Bama-Georgia game. It's remarkable to me. And, standing on the sideline, we talk about this a lot. Tom Luganville jumps on the show, and we also do SiriusXM together. And we talk about the importance of being on the field and seeing the body type of players. It does matter. If you go look at 2 teams on the field before a game, you can tell how much attention a coaching staff has paid to recruiting and strength and conditioning. I've seen a lot of Alabama games over the course of my career. I've stood on the sidelines and seen Bryce Young, Mac Jones, Tua Tagovailoa, Jalen Hurts, A.J. McCarron, Greg McElroy, Tyler Watts, way back when. I've seen a lot of them. You don't see a guy like Jalen Milroe. I have not seen a guy like Jalen Milroe. Now, I will tell you this. Jalen Hurts was way thicker and way stronger than maybe he came across on television. Nothing compared to Milroe. And for him to be essentially the second fastest player on that Alabama team and have that kind of body type, it's frightening. And I think looking into this year, Alabama kind of had three different offensive schemes last year. It was try to run the football effectively. And then towards the end of the season, it was Jalen Milroe deep. And then it was mix the two in the playoff or in the SEC championship game and then the semifinal. He has meshed. He has clicked so well with this offensive staff. It is not just Jalen Milroe deep. It is not just Jalen Milroe on the ground. Everything is working. Everything. It helps that he has Ryan Williams, but he is a complete player last year. He wasn't last year, and he still led his team to the college football playoff. Now he's terrifying. And generally the Heisman is best player, best team, usually a quarterback. Not always, especially with Alabama, with Devontae and Derrick Henry, and Mark Ingram. But generally speaking, that's how this operates. And I think in a normal situation, it'd be Jalen Milroe, and honestly, he'd have to get injured to lose it at this point, or Alabama would have to fall completely off the table, which is not going to happen. But man, in a year with Travis Hunter, I mean, that's just impossible. Now, Ashton Genty's at plus 800 right now. This is a guy that I think, in terms of Heisman voters, you talk about how to capture the hearts of the voters. Those of us who watch college football on a day-to-day basis know how good he is. Those of us who are, in the weeds in terms of sports in general, know about him. The local reporter for Midland, Texas, who has a vote, I'm not knocking those folks, but are you really paying attention to Ashton Genty when you're also dealing with high school football, college football in Texas, whatever else? Not really. Not yet. But towards the end of the season, if this continues and he runs for $2,000, you're going to get a lot of folks that have votes in those that work in that kind of market who are like, damn, this dude's incredible. Maybe I should vote for him. It's the Cinderella story, especially if Boise State gets to the playoff. Is he going to win it? No. No. But at plus 800, man, that's a good bet just in case. Just in case. But there's no doubt the dude is unreal. Absolutely unreal. But right now, to me, it's Travis Hunter, Jalen Milroe, then everybody else. Ashton Genty's not getting as much love yet. I think he will moving forward. I keep telling you guys, watch out for Cade Klubnik. Watch out for Cade Klubnik. Take a break. When we come back, talk a little bit about fake injuries. Yes, there are a lot of them, and I have thoughts on it. It's college football smothered and covered. We are powered by Locked On. This show brought to you by Roy, which means it's time to highlight my Roy Player of the Week. Roy is a new platform that lets fans make contributions directly to their favorite athletes. Download Roy for iOS and Android and enter referral code Locked On, and you'll automatically be entered into a sweepstakes for $5,000 cash. No purchase necessary, void where prohibited. And this week, we've selected on this show Jalen Milroe as our Roy Player of the Week. I'm going to give Jalen Milroe $100 on Roy. That's right. You go to that app, you can give him whatever you want. I'm giving him $100 because, my God, I was at that game. I was on the sidelines. You can see some great videos and pics on my X page. Wow. Jalen Milroe was a monster. If you were impressed with his performance on Saturday, you can show him some love too. Just hop on Roy and throw in a few bucks. If everyone pitches in just $10, it adds up fast for Mr. Milroe. Now you have the chance to show your appreciation. As a fan, Alabama fans, I know you appreciate him and his standout performance against those Georgia Bulldogs, as well as what he continues to bring. We talked about Milroe in the Heisman race. You might need to donate a little bit to Roy to give him a little extra cash and show your appreciation for his performance. Get off the sidelines and into the NIL game with Roy. Download it on iOS or Google Play. Okay, fake injuries. We all saw what happened in the Ole Miss Kentucky game. Matt Jones got sniped, maybe. He got sniped by somebody in the stands. Actually, it was really just Jackson Dart telling him to go down. And he went down. He went down hard. And, you know, we've heard Herb Street talk about on games as well how shameful it is. And look, there were discussions this offseason. The SEC said they were going to pay more attention to it and there'd be public reprimands and things like that. I've been asked a lot about fake injuries, and user 6237 on YouTube asked about this. What should be done? There's not a lot you can do. Now, obviously, the player has to sit out a play. Fine. The problem is you can't ask officials on the field to diagnose injuries. You just can't do it. A fake cramp looks like a real cramp, which can look like a torn hamstring or a pulled hamstring. That's the way it is. A stinger in your shoulder can look like a bruise, can look like a separated shoulder. Like, they all can look the same. Now, there are varying degrees, but if an official is forced to make that decision and that official is wrong, or something happens that affects the game or the player, whatever, guess who gets involved? Lawyers. Billable hours, they are undefeated. Now, I think in this case, you should up the number of plays that a player has to sit out, right? It would make it less, it would diminish the times that you use them, because a player would say, look, this was Matt Jones, right? Running back for Ole Miss. If he has to sit out 3, if he has to sit out the rest of the series or whatever it is, that would make it, like, if it's just more than 1, coaches would be very reluctant to do it. This is kind of the same similar conversation as the new relief pitchers rule in Major League Baseball, which was instilled 3-4 years ago, where everybody has to pitch at least 3 batters. And if the inning ends, then whatever, that gets wiped off. Maybe that's the way you do it. It's the same sort of thing. Instead of, changing pitchers every single at bat, you sort of have to play a little bit more. You have to manage a little bit more strategically. That's what coaches would do in a situation like that. I would say 3 plays. You don't have to take him out a quarter. You don't have to take him out for a full drive, because that's subjective and obviously can change from drive to drive. So make it 3 plays. Make it 3 plays. If you get a first down, you get a full set of downs where you don't have that player. Do you know how different coaches would manage that? If you don't have your starting running back, your starting right guard for 3 plays instead of 1, that's a massive, massive difference. Because then if you get a first down, everything changes. Your entire strategy changes. So I would do that. 3 plays instead of 1. It would, I think, prevent a lot of these players from looking like they got sniped. And other of you have thoughts on it. So let me know in the comments when you like this video, share this video, right in the comments, what you think you should do. Because I think there are There are things that need to be done. Now, coaching fines are part of this as well. But again, we talk about lawyers, right? What if the player's really hurt, but you kick him out for a quarter? Again, officials can't diagnose this. So how are you going to define in this? How are you going to fine, in this case, Lane Kiffin for, fine him 10 grand, which is a drop in the bucket, but still, how are you going to fine him 10 grand for a player falling over when he could legitimately have a cramp? Because that's generally how these players fake it. It's a fake cramp. You can't diagnose that. So I think finding coaches it's impossible to do in practice. It's a great idea. Execution of that would be very, very difficult. We will take a break. When we come back, SEC Power Rankings. This is when you get to yell profusely just because it's fun to yell. It's college football smothered and covered. And of course, we are powered by Locked On. We are also brought to you by FanDuel. We love FanDuel. Hey, NFL fans, you can start this season with a big, big gift from FanDuel. It's America's #1 sports book. So when you have a hunch in the middle of a game, like let's just say it was in Monday Night Football or the Braves doubleheader. Well, let's go San Diego, or Braves in San Diego. You can check out the latest stats right there on the FanDuel app, right there on FanDuel.com. You get live play-by-play. It's all right there, and it's on the same page that you use to place those bets. They'll get you started, $200. That's $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 wager. Go to FanDuel.com. That is FanDuel.com. SEC Power Rankings. If you're listening and not watching on YouTube, I'm going to run them down real quick, and then we're going to talk a little bit about them. If you're watching on YouTube, you know what? This is going to be a little annoying. Hey, don't forget, you can become a college football smothered and covered insider as well. Look in the description below. There's a subtext. You'll get access to me. We'll do Q&As. You'll be able to interact with me one-on-one. How cool is that? So look in the description below. You can check out the subtext and become a college football smothered and covered insider. Here are SEC Power Rankings. Again, for listeners, we're just going to run down real quick. Alabama, Texas, Tennessee, Georgia, Missouri, LSU, Kentucky, Ole Miss, Oklahoma, Texas A&M, South Carolina, Arkansas, Florida, Auburn, Vanderbilt, and Mississippi State. So with Alabama, I jumped them up 4-1, and we talk about this when we do power rankings, when AP poll comes out, all that stuff. I am very willing to move teams, players, whatever, around however they need to see fit. It's the best win of the season for Alabama. Best win of the season for anybody. And they showed everything that you need to see from a contender, right? Dominance offensively, dominance defensively, how to withstand getting punched in the face, success when you get punched in the face, and how to close out a game. All things you need to have to win a championship, all things you need to have to be a contender. That's why they're #1. It's not rocket science. Anybody who tells you differently is a liar. Texas #2, they get bumped down. Whatever, Texas, I still love you. We'll see what happens in a couple weeks against Oklahoma. Can't wait to see what happens when Quinn Ewers gets back. Tennessee still jumped over Georgia. The offensive performance by Carson Beck is concerning. The lack of rushing attack is concerning for Georgia. Tennessee has shown no weakness at all this season. It is that simple. If Tennessee starts to show a weakness, okay, we'll bump Georgia back up over them. But when you evaluate teams, it's not just that Georgia lost to Alabama. It's that Georgia's rushing attack has not been good all season. And I know the Kentucky win looks better because Kentucky beat Ole Miss, but whatever. You're not a complete team right now. Period. End of story. I did move Kentucky up to number 7 over Ole Miss. That's not that surprising. I have Missouri, LSU 5 and 6. Let's go down. And South Carolina fans got really mad because I got them at 11 and I got Kentucky at 7, despite the fact that South Carolina kicked Kentucky's tail. I'm all about. I'm not all. There's a recency bias in power rankings, right? There's a recency bias. You have to view each team for what they are, not necessarily from what they've done. You do consider what they've done, but you also have to consider where they are, right? Because I get a lot of people, make it make sense. Make it make sense. Well, here it is. You can't just focus on head-to-head matchups. I like South Carolina. I like Lenore Sellers when he's healthy. Robbie Ashford's okay. But what Kentucky has done, improving defensively, figuring itself offensively, what to do. Brock Vandagriff, as a mobile quarterback, as a zone read quarterback, letting him cook on the ground. They didn't know he could do that against South Carolina. Now they do. They've got a signature win over a college football playoff contender on the road. That matters, especially since they've kept evolving into what they are and staying true to their newfound identity, which did not exist in that South Carolina game. So South Carolina fans, I get it. You know, you do have to focus a little bit on head-to-head matchup, but Kentucky's changed. Kentucky's changed in a big, big way. And the signature win is massive. So that's me trying to justify it. Arkansas, Florida, Auburn, Vandy, Mississippi State. Anybody have any issues with those? I'd love to know. Does anybody have any issues with the back end starting at 12 with Arkansas, Florida, Auburn, Vandy, Mississippi State? I mean, I kind of thought multiple things about Auburn. Hugh Freeze takes a lot of grief, and he said this, that, you know, he takes a lot of grief when, you know, he points out problems that exist, and he gets, you know, criticized for throwing players under the bus. And we said last week, you can't get pissed off because coaches talk in coach speak and then get pissed off when they're honest, especially about things we already know. So I agree with them. And, you know, he got in trouble with, you know, they would have beaten Arkansas 9 out of 10 times. Look, what he's saying, he's ignoring part of the DNA, which is turnovers. But what he is, I think, legitimately happy about is that his offense is explosive. They are. That offense is explosive. Now, it turns the ball over way too much, but it is explosive. So when I put Auburn at the back end ahead of Vanderbilt, that's why. But the turnovers now have become too concerning. So I can't keep them above Florida. Obviously, Arkansas is that there's a head-to-head there. But it's such a weird team because the things that it does well to build leads, the things that Hugh's proud about, they're real. They are real. It's just, it's odd. I said this on Outkick on Saturday. I wrote this, that Hugh's looking at a 4-8 record with the way the schedule sets up. They also could spring an upset or 2 or 3 if they limit those turnovers. If they do. Now, ifs, ands, and buts, I get it. But man, the offense is actually really good if you ignore those. And that's where Hugh Freeze gets in trouble. But again, throwing his players under the bus, he's not. He's telling you obvious things. It's not like these players don't know they're throwing interceptions. So anyway, that's why I have Auburn where I do in the SEC power rankings. That will do it for this edition of college football smothered and covered. Hey, for your second listen, go check out Locked On College Football. Spencer McLaughlin does a great job over there. Also, look in the description below, share this video, see what all the great things we're doing here. Like it, share it, put the notifications on. And if you want to be a college football smothered and covered insider, you can click on that subtext. You'll get access to Q&As with me. You'll get access to me. You will be able to text me personally. And you can say whatever you want about me, and I will answer. I'll answer you. You say I'm biased against Team X or Team Y, I'll answer you personally. So you can do that if you sign up for the subtext. Until Wednesday, hopefully we have a Braves win to celebrate Wednesday. Lord knows yesterday was stressful. Tonight, 8:30 in San Diego. See what happens. Hopefully in a good mood. If I'm not, I think you know why. Have a good one.